Okay, welcome. Today I want to just offer some reflections about going up to the ACE Aware conference with Gabor Mate on Saturday, a few days ago. Just want to talk about some of the things that I learned at the conference, the workshop. Thank you. Okay, so we are now Wednesday, and I got back from Glasgow on Monday night. There was an ACE Aware conference with Gabor Mate, and Suzanne Zeedyk was talking there, and there was a few other guests who were speaking. It was a really great day. Met some lovely people, reconnected with Suzanne Zeedyk. I hadn't met her in person. And then on the Sunday I interviewed her for the documentary about boarding school and our leaders, and then in the afternoon with Alex Renton down in Edinburgh. And yeah, I thought it was brilliant. There was, I made quite a few notes, as is my way, during the conference. He spoke for about 4.5 hours, and it was, fascinating. He showed some slides, some videos, but it was mainly him speaking. And the kind of topic was obviously around trauma, but he was talking a bit about compassion fatigue, saying, he doesn't feel that compassion fatigue exists. And he was talking about, towards the end of the day, about compassionate inquiry. How can we look within? And I'll share a little bit about that. Some of the things that really stood out, he was saying, when people feel safe, they open up. And I really love that. I do find that, certainly as I was listening to him through that lens of my work with boarding school survivors, is as he was speaking, it's like, yes, he spoke about a few different people. Winston Churchill, he spoke about George Orwell, 1984, and I'm like, well, that's an ex-boarder. He talked about, at one point, about this idea of how to create a cult. And he was talking about the medical profession, saying separate them from their family, sleep deprive them, and then tell them they are special. And I was like, that sounds like boarding school. And there were so many things that he spoke about that I really resonated with. What other things has he kind of talked about? He talked about some of the work he did with Gordon Newfield, like human needs, this idea of attachment, rest, having the importance of kind of really listening to to our children. He was saying that no mammal ignores the cries of infants apart from humans. And it's interesting, I've got an episode of my podcast going live on Friday with Sarah Ockwell Smith, and she's talking about that idea of working with children and how we discipline them now. We are still in Britain, or certainly in England, we're still allowed to hit children. They've kind of banned it in Scotland. So yeah, he was just talking about that. He was talking also about all emotions being heard, and this importance of free spontaneous play. And with each of those, as I listened to it, I was like, right, yeah, attachment seeking, we don't get that at boarding school. Rest, you don't have to work at a relationship, that doesn't happen either. And the ignoring of our cry as well, that's what happens at certainly throughout the UK, the world, but essentially at boarding school, And then the final aspect, free spontaneous play, well, it didn't happen at my school. So yeah, he talked a lot, and I just found it fascinating. He was talking about these different types of compassion. He was saying we've got ordinary compassion, compassion of understanding, compassion of recognition, compassion of truth, and compassion of possibility. And kind of offering in some of the work, like speaking to people of their stories. So yeah, it was really really fascinating. I really recommend reading The Myth of Normal. I managed to get my book signed as well by him, so I managed to say a few words, and yeah, it was great. And then on the Sunday, I went to film Suzanne Zeedyk, which was amazing. You know, she's so eloquent, so knowledgeable about the area of not only childhood development but also about boarding school. She's read so much about it, so that's going to be fascinating, adding that into the film. And then Alex Renton again, and his work with sexual abuse survivors and campaigning with the boarding schools. And then tomorrow, yeah, I've got an exciting guest. I won't say who it is yet, on the for the film, and got to drive there, and I'll update you once it's done. It feels if I do it before, it's like, no, I need to get there, do the interview, and then I'll share who I spoke to. But I think it's makes me feel quite nervous actually. So yeah, I think that's really it. You know, if you get a chance to go to one of his talks, please do. Gabor Mate, please read the book The Myth of Normal. You know, he has a whole chapter in there about trauma-infused politics, and you know that really links into the work I do with boarding school and this idea of our leaders. Well, are our leaders traumatized? You know, speaking to Nikki Moxie on my podcast a couple of weeks ago, and she says that, you know, the people she's researched, everyone has at least 3 ACEs going to boarding school, which are adverse childhood experiences, which is what the weekend was really about up in Glasgow. So I see, you know, are all our leaders, that they all have 3 adverse childhood experiences? And what does that mean for us as the culture? It's these types of questions that, well, really important to ask, especially as so many of them, Tony Blair, Boris Johnson, Rishi Sunak, have been to boarding school. So yeah, I think it was really brilliant, really enjoyed it, and yeah, I'm looking forward to reading more of his work, studying more of his stuff. So yeah, any questions, please do let me know. Okay, blessings.